me being brand new, getting into this chair, getting into this seat, now I'm getting people, loan officers from all across the way wanting to do like FaceTime or wanting to do like training meetings inside the company. And it's put me in a different position because I'm now leading other people's teams. I don't get paid on them, right? So at the end of the day, I could be like, this is only for my guys. But what it's enabled me to do is do something that is probably the absolute strongest skill that we all will have, and it's leadership, right? It's speaking in public. It's putting yourself out there and exposed to help multiple people at a time. And you, again, have been granted that position. You've been given that title to say, hey, we trust you and your skills and your work ethic to do this role. But when that role or that title put upon you seems like a big feat, like, oh man, I don't have no credibility. I've barely been doing this, right? How am I gonna teach these people if they already know that I'm brand new to this? And everything that I've explained to you right now about who you represent, the brand you wear, you were appointed by them to do this role. So don't think that you don't earn it. You do earn it, right? Whether you're a processor, sales, you're a loan processor, manager, you had a system that you worked and you sold your way to this position. You sold your way to a position of a trainer, a manager, a facilitator, a leader. And ultimately what you're doing now is just selling it in a way that you're now, instead of your prospects, they're your LOs, right? But how did you sell your prospects? You sold your prospects by hitting on notes that you knew connected with them emotionally. Right? It wasn't about rate and fees. It was about why you're in a deficit and a surplus. The real reason why you're reacting or why you're doing this is not the rate. It's a matter of helping you fill a hole, fill a void. And so, but how does it come out on the context? On the context, it's like, okay, well, can you beat my 3% rate? If you can't beat it, then, I don't even want to give you my last name. Right? And this is how our LOs are going to come to us. Like, well, if you can't help me make $10,000, then I don't even want to be here, right? To some degree. Like, well, this isn't going to help me today, then why am I even sitting here? And so these are the challenging things that I've experienced in being newer to the role, because I'll get people who were forced to come to my meetings. These were typically the lower producers. And a side note, what you're gonna find out is that of your LOs, you're gonna have a good portion of them who are legit. Like, you don't even need to worry about them. You know what I mean? They're driven, they're on their way. If anything, I would use them as a tool to reference how they do X, Y, and Z, right? That's to capture the absolute best piece of information because you're learning right from the top. And then you got the middle ground who's somewhat interested, somewhat engaged. And then you got the lower level who just clearly, blatantly are just rude and offensive. Right? But not necessarily rude and offensive like F you, they're not cordial, they're not, respectful. And so I get these, especially from the lower producers, and I know their numbers. They don't know that I know their numbers, but I know their numbers. And what really bothers me is that I'm helping them learn how to do the absolute toughest thing that they go through each day. It's their grind. Right? So in other words, I'm helping them find a shortcut to their solution, but they would rather go the long way. In other words, I have a shovel and a map, but you'd rather choose to dig by hand. So we can react in two different ways. I can react and be like, well, F you then, get unhappy every time they come in your room, but what's gonna happen is it's gonna affect everyone else. And I think that does a disservice to everyone else in the room, because again, there's a big portion of people who really wanna be there, who really do support you. And that, I believe, is what we need to focus on. Don't focus on Woody, or whatever LO is just giving you disrespect, because if it really does affect you, you have a chance to connect with them individually.